COVID-19 on PEI today and tough new measures at Confederation Bridge.
Don't come if it's not essential. You are going to be turned away.
There are now 2 levels of screening at the bridge, and if you don't pass the first one, you won't be allowed into the province. The new enforcement measures begin tonight. A show of thanks today for healthcare workers across the province. Emergency vehicles lined up outside the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Charlottetown. RCMP, city police, firefighters, paramedics, highway safety, and many others took part. These types of parades have been happening all over North America to show gratitude for everything our healthcare workers are doing during the COVID-19 pandemic. Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight on Compass. There are no new cases of COVID-19 on PEI today. The total of confirmed people with the virus is still 21, but public health officials say they're still preparing for a surge in cases. Nicole Williams is standing by live in the studio tonight with the very latest. So, Nicole, we learned today 3 of our cases have now recovered. What exactly does that mean?
Well, Louise, it means that these people who have been experiencing these symptoms, who have been sick, are now being told to stay at home, or rather they have been staying at home for the last 2 weeks, and they're no longer symptomatic. So it means that they no longer have to self-isolate at home. They are allowed to go outside as long as they're practicing physical distancing. But Dr. Heather Morrison says even though today there were no new cases announced, it's actually one of the first briefings in about a week where we haven't had any new confirmed cases. She says it's still important for people to practice these new measures of physical distancing and self-isolation. Take a listen.
Although we don't have any new cases to announce, this is not a time to slow down or become complacent. It's actually when we need to keep going with our messages and our actions around physical distancing and self-isolating if you have returned from out of province or out of country.
We were also given, Nicole, more information on where COVID-19 patients will go if they actually need to be hospitalized. So what did we learn there?
Yes, well, we learned today that all patients needing to go to the hospital because of COVID-19 will be sent to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital to start. They say that's a part of their management plan. They're going to be focusing on the QEH to start because there's space there. So once demand increases, that's when they'll start looking at the Prince County Hospital. And right now, there are no hospitalizations yet, but staff at both of these hospitals have been working to create more space because they're expecting an influx of patients. Right now, both of these facilities are down to about 60% occupancy. Here is Chief of Nursing Marianne Dowling.
The staff at our Prince County Hospital, Queen Elizabeth Hospital, and all facilities are working to move patients to locations where they can be cared for appropriately and safely. This is creating space for patients who may need hospital care at the QEH and PCH for the surge in patients that we are expecting.
And Louise, Dowling was also asked a pretty tough question today. What happens if both of these hospitals reach their capacity? Who gets treatment and who doesn't? We didn't get too many details on that, but we know that the province is looking at that scenario. They're having those conversations and they're making a plan for if and when that happens.
Yeah, that's tough to think about. With hospitals trying to make more room for these patients, Nicole, what is the province doing for patients in need of urgent psychiatric care?
Well, Louise, we know that the psychiatric urgent care clinic is opening as of today. It's beginning in Charlottetown at Hillsborough Hospital, and it's for any patients needing urgent psychiatric care without the need of the medical care from an emergency department. They say they're going to be redirecting these patients to this clinic in order to maintain the capacity at the emergency department.
Thank you, Nicole. That is Nicole Williams reporting for us live in studio tonight. Well, also today, we learned that many of PEI's COVID-19 cases are having some additional symptoms. Common general symptoms are cough, fever, and trouble breathing. That's what we have been saying all along. Here on PEI, Dr. Morrison says that many people are also having chills and a headache as well. A reminder that if you are having symptoms, you should call 811 and you will be assessed for testing. There are new measures at the Confederation Bridge starting tonight. There will now be a two-step process. First, transportation staff will determine if the person coming into PEI are essential or if their reasons for coming are essential. Then they are approved. They will be screened for health reasons. If they are not, they will be turned away.
Travelers who are not essential workers commuting to PEI for work, essential workers in the trade and transportation sectors who are moving goods and people across borders, such as truck drivers, islanders returning from travel out of province or medical appointments, or students returning home, or individuals coming for compassionate grounds will be turned away at the bridge. Let me repeat that. Don't come if it's not essential. You are going to be turned away. Travelers will continue to be screened by public health after they go through the first screening.
And also today, government announced a new income support program. This is for people who have been laid off or lost their jobs as of March 13th and have applied for benefits from the federal government. It's meant to help bridge the gap until those benefits begin. It is a one-time lump sum of $750. You can get more information on that program on the government's COVID-19 website. That's princeedwardisland.ca/COVID for business. Another 2 government-run liquor stores are reopening on PEI right now. There are 3 stores open, one in Charlottetown, one in Summerside, and one in Montague. The one in O'Leary opened today, and in Surrey it will open tomorrow. The stores are open on reduced hours Monday to Saturday. They're closed on Sunday for deep cleaning. All cannabis stores are remaining closed. Well, next week, education on PEI will move from the classroom to your home. It's scheduled to launch on Monday, but what exactly will that look like for students, teachers, and parents or guardians? We know you have a lot of questions, so we will ask the Director of English Education for the province for some answers just ahead. Island nursing homes are taking new steps to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Facilities are ramping up measures to keep residents safe. Travis Kingdon has more.
PEI's long-term care facilities have been putting measures in place to stop the spread of COVID-19 for weeks now. They've upped their cleaning procedures, and they're not allowing any visitors into the home. And now some facilities are going even further to make sure that residents inside stay as apart from each other as possible. PEI Seniors Homes is closing their dining rooms in their 3 facilities across the island. Those residents will now have meals served to them in their rooms. Activities are also changing, with increased distance between the residents, and some are moving completely into the residents' rooms. The company says these are all precautionary measures.
We are paying special attention to what's happening in nursing homes and long-term care facilities across Canada and across North America. We're learning from them. There's been some really difficult situations out there, and that's what we're trying to avoid.
Similar precautions are being taken by Andrews Senior Care. In a note to staff and relatives of residents, the company wrote, "Effective immediately, we will be moving to in-room care, in-room dining, and a more personalized approach to caregiving services," and says common areas will be closed and residents will be asked to remain in the rooms to prevent the possible spread of infection. Andrews Senior Care says residents can still go for a walk if they want, so long as they're accompanied by a staff member. And at PEI Seniors Homes, residents are still able to leave the room by themselves. And that company says these policies are not going to be unfamiliar to the residents. They're similar to what happens during a flu outbreak in the homes. It says it's just putting these measures in place now to keep everyone safe from COVID-19. Travis Kingdon, CBC News, Charlottetown.
Well, the pandemic is having a major impact on PEI's real estate industry. There are new rules around what realtors are allowed to do as they try to sell homes. Steve Bruce is working from home for us and has more on that.
Well, PEI's Real Estate Association says with public health officials telling people to stay home and to stay apart, most realtors had already decided on their own to call off open houses and in-person showings. But according to the association, some showings were still taking place. So this week, the association's president sent out a message to real estate agents saying that needs to stop, that agents are only permitted to show homes that don't have anyone living in them. Here's the president, Greg Lipton.
We don't want to have any consequences to this by someone spreading the COVID virus just because they felt like they needed to go see a house. It's really a matter of how many risks do you want to take with the COVID virus.
Now, according to Lipton, real estate agents were just deemed an essential service by the PEI government. He says that means they can continue to list and sell homes during this pandemic, but there are limitations. Homeowners looking to sell, for example, will have to take their own photos and videos and get their realtor to post them. Now, anyone needing to buy and get into a new home quickly may have to get their offer in without actually seeing the house in person. He says before the sale's finalized, they will have a chance to walk through the home and can then decide whether to close the deal. But the association says there's really not a lot of that happening right now, that with all these limitations in place and with so many islanders facing financial uncertainty in the midst of this pandemic, real estate business here on PEI has essentially dried up. Steve Bruce, CBC News, Meadowbank.
Some companies that own apartment buildings are taking new steps to help with physical distancing. Killam Properties and Capri both rent out about 1,000 units in dozens of buildings. They have closed all common gathering areas. There's also more regular cleaning of door handles, rails, and elevator buttons. Guests are not allowed unless the visit is essential.
Well, after a slippery start with some freezing drizzle that left things a bit icy this morning, showers and drizzle were the story today, and not much in terms of sunshine for your forecast tomorrow. We do have some strong winds to talk about, and I will let you know when the sun will shine again coming up a little later on Compass with your full forecast.
Home learning is set to begin on PEI on Monday. The Department of Education says it will be led by teachers, but what exactly will it look like? Tamara Hubley-Little is the Director of English Education Programs and Services for the province and joins me via FaceTime. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me, Louise.
So how would you describe the model of learning that you're about to launch?
So as of April 6th, we are transitioning to a teacher-led home learning situation. And so how that will look depends on the grade level. We do have different expectations for the learning that will happen. Obviously, younger students will have less requirement for home learning, and then as those students progress in their grades, there will be greater demands on their time. Starting the week of April 6th and throughout that week, we will expect teachers to reach out to students and establish really what kind of access students have to technology. Of course, that's going to be a very important part of how teachers respond to student home learning needs and establishing those materials. So it will be flexible, but there will be some direction according to what we call key stages. So in kindergarten, for example, the learning materials will be focused for 30 minutes on a holistic learning experience, and there's some changes as the grades go on, but we can talk about those more in a few minutes.
Yeah, so let's go over those times. So beginning with 30 minutes and then it goes up from there. Let's just quickly go over that for our viewers.
Okay. So again, 30 minutes in kindergarten, and then in grades 1 to 3, we're looking at 45 minutes, and that will focus on literacy and numeracy. We are looking at continuing to emphasize physical health and well-being, but that will be outside of the time that we're talking about here today. Then in grades 4 through 6, we're looking at a 60-minute learning block. 7 through 9, it would be a 90-minute block. And then at high school, we're looking at 2 hours of learning materials per week per course.
Has there been any consideration given to the thought of carrying classes through the summer if classes don't resume on May 11th and are indefinitely canceled? Mm-hmm. Any consideration to summer classes?
So certainly people have been talking about that, but I want to be clear that it's not something that we are looking at right now. We believe that and are confident that we have a plan in place that will transition students from their program this year into their program next year, so that students won't need to participate in summer learning. Having said that, we do always provide a summer learning program for high school students, and we expect that that will be available this summer as well, although it wouldn't be a part of a response to school closures due to COVID-19 this year.
Okay, and have you considered, this is for all the parents out there, perhaps a homeschooling 101 tutorial?
It's a great idea, and we will be working with principals to share communication out to parents early next week on what kind of home learning would be most successful for students. Again, I'm going to go back to this notion of the flexibility because our families have such unique home learning environments and such unique family situations where we may have families working from home that are requiring technology and so on. So we need to provide some guidelines for success that also take into consideration how complex and challenging some of these situations are. So it's a great idea, and we look forward to sharing tips for homeschooling success with parents in the coming days.
Students who don't have the technology, students who may not have access to internet, is there any way students maybe could borrow Google Chromebooks from their school?
Well, we're certainly looking into that, and there are a number of options available to students that would see that they aren't requiring technology. In fact, part of our direction to teachers in developing their home learning materials is that please consider and provide materials that are offline. Students are engaging in a lot of online activity because of the isolation. And it's really important not only for student mental health and well-being, but also there's so many really valuable learning experiences that students can do offline. So it isn't just about providing the technology, although of course we are looking into that. But for families that don't have the technology, I want them to be assured that we will be responding to individual students' learning needs in consideration of the technology that they may or may not have access to at home.
Certainly, it's a whole new world. Tamara Hubley-Little, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Louise. I appreciate the time.
It is time for a quick break. This is a live look outside our studio in Charlottetown tonight. Jay Scotland's full forecast is coming up after this break. Stay with us. All right, it's time to check in with Jay Scotland now, live from the Winslow Weather Bureau. And Jay, not a lot of sun to talk about today and maybe not even tomorrow.
We may get a chance to play peekaboo with the sun very late in the day tomorrow, so in the afternoon hours, but it's just a chance, and I might be optimistic in saying that likely it's going to be overcast, and we still have some more showers and more drizzle to get through. And if April showers bring us May flowers, I want to know what drizzle brings us. That's the question. Welcome to April. All right, let's take a look now at our temperatures right now across the island this hour. And we're sitting anywhere from -1 to about +2. Yes, it was a degree or so cooler than anticipated today. And it took a while to see those temperatures creep up above the freezing mark this morning, which meant that the fog and the drizzle that was falling last night and this morning, that was freezing fog and freezing drizzle that resulted in some icy surfaces. And yes, freezing fog is a thing. You can Google that. It is actually a thing. Northerly winds coming in off the Gulf, pretty light to the east, starting to pick up to the west. We will watch for those winds to increase tonight, becoming more northeasterly and then easterly into tomorrow. Gusts to 50K overnight possible. Gusts beyond 60K will be possible through the day tomorrow. So it's a really odd weather pattern that we're seeing. Area of low pressure to our south. Trough that moved in from the east is now continuing to move to our west. And that area of low pressure to our south will continue to move north. It's kind of wobbling, though. So we'll see some showers overnight, some drizzle, some fog lingering into tomorrow morning. We're likely going to see clouds, maybe a few isolated breaks of sunshine late in the day. But then watch what happens. That area of low pressure that has been moving north, it's going to start to sink back to the south. And we'll actually start to see into Friday, after maybe a few morning showers, we'll actually start to see that sky beginning to gradually clear through the afternoon and the evening on Friday, which should make the way for pretty decent conditions into your Saturday. Let's take a look at our overnight conditions tonight. Temperatures over the western half of the island with showers, drizzle, some fog possible, and brisk northeast to easterly winds between +1 and +2. So actually rising a little bit overnight. Afternoon temperatures between 2 and 5 degrees. And as we slide our weather map to the east, showers, drizzle, some fog and mist overnight in through the morning hours for your Thursday tomorrow. Temperatures above the freezing mark. And as warm as anywhere from 4 to as warm as 7 degrees in some areas tomorrow afternoon. It's going to be windy, though. Those winds could be gusting anywhere from 30 to over 60. Coastal areas, 70 kilometers per hour. Still windy, gradually clearing, though, into your Friday. And it will be a little bit cooler as we edge into the weekend. But a fair amount of sunshine in the forecast on Saturday and just a slight risk of light flurries at this point for Sunday. Louise?
All right, thank you very much, Jay. We'll see you again tomorrow. Good to see you. Well, Dr. Heather Morrison mentioned in her update today a song by Islanders Tara McLean and Catherine McClellan. It is a song she says reflects these difficult times. It's called This Storm. Well, Tara and Catherine wrote it over the phone together, and they're hoping to have it ready in about a week or so. But Tara did perform it during a recent online concert, and as we take a break, have a listen.
You more than ever. Soon we'll be together in each other's arms. And I know that it will be alright. It's just gonna take some time. So hold on through this storm. Through this storm.
Well, here's another look now at that parade of emergency vehicles this morning at the QEH. It was to say thanks to people who work in the healthcare system for their extraordinary efforts during the pandemic. Doctors, nurses, admin staff, food service, maintenance, laundry, housekeeping, and of course, many more.
It was kind of a proud moment to see all the emergency services come together at kind of a moment's notice. A few phone calls were made, emails were exchanged, and everybody was on board that I talked to. It was as soon as I asked, it was an absolutely, what time do you want us there? And once we parked all our cars at Emerge, I think we had a total of 35 to 40 cars, fire trucks, conservation, sheriff, highway safety, island EMS. A lot of the doctors and nurses came out from Emerge and gave us a thumbs up and gave us a round of applause. And in turn, we did the same thing just to show our appreciation to them.
And here is just some of that appreciation on social media. This is from Trevor Jane, emergency room doctor, on Twitter. Thank you. Unexpected, appreciative, lump in throat. You all rock. Pretty awesome moment. Thank you for joining us tonight for Compass. You can always go online for more news from our province 24 hours a day. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night, PEI.